And Team Freedom anticipated it, and they knew the aggression was coming. A great defensive comp to get things going in game number 1. And we're going to hear from our sponsors in just a second, and when we're back, it's game number 2.
The 2017 Heroes Global Championship Finals are brought to you in part by Republic of Gamers, Intel, T-Mobile, and NVIDIA.
Thank you very much to our lovely sponsors joining us here for the HGC 2017 Finals. Of course, game number 2 on the horizon now between these two teams. Does Tempos... You've
got me.
You!
The curse
It's
of the
all
British.
his fault, not
Yeah,
me.
blame me.
Right, anyway. Does Team Freedom
We're out of here.
have anything to worry about going into this next game, judging from what we saw there?
I think one thing I noticed a lot, and we were talking about this on the desk during the game, is the stacking of the sound barriers and the sanctifications. Obviously, you have two great tools, and in that game itself, if you hit one or out of the other, or both at the same time, it didn't matter because you won the fight. But I feel like going into a fight where you're using a composition like this against more well-rounded damage, a more well-rounded team comp, got to be a little bit careful about that. But otherwise, I mean, I think they had a good strategy. They played against the Chinese strengths. They took a lot of those tools away from BDG, and they played a solid strategy overall.
Well, we can take a look at the second battleground to start things off, and then I can get back to you guys in a moment. Let's find out where we're going. It will be Team Freedom's choice, going to Cursed Hollow, gentlemen.
I personally really think it's going to be extremely rough for BDG to make an impact here, and the reason for me is that when we talked about Team Freedom coming to the Western Clash, they said that one of the things that they learned in their boot camps in Europe is to play different playstyles. But even back then, they felt that they had one strategy, one style, and something that they executed. And since then, they just completely broadened their approach, and right now they can play the macro game, and they can play the team fights. And we've just seen BTG in a game where their self-proclaimed strength did not work out in the slightest. The synergy for team fighting just wasn't there. So if they from themselves say, hey, this is our strength, this is what we are trying to do, and then you see it being a little bit lackluster, I don't really know what their approach is going to be to take Team Freedom down. So I think overall, judging from game number 1, small sample size, granted, Team Freedom has a very good shot at closing this out with the 2-0.
And I mean, what better way for us to gauge exactly where Team Freedom are at in terms of that ability to be more broad in their approach rather than one trick, one style. Going to Cursed Hollow, one of the most macro-intensive maps. This will give us a bit of a glimpse into how strong they are in that region and how Beyond the Game are going to respond. I'm personally thinking Beyond the Game need to sort of up their priority for that Tyrael. It seems to be a big component of their region. You saw how much it worked against them. But apart from that, execution really was the name of the game. Team Freedom on the day had the better comp and the better ability to be decisive, find the kills, and close things out on Battlefield.
I think the X factor for Beyond the Game going to this map to try to control the macro is going to be the solo lane. We saw the Alarak was really just, obviously as Kaldor was mentioning as we went to the last draft, you don't really talk about the solo lane too much on Battlefield. At the 30, it's not as big of a factor as it is on larger maps like Dragonshire, for example, which is banned out. So I think what they bring to the table in terms of the solo lane will kind of set the pace, and then they can use that tool to set up those fights and go towards their style.
I mean, talking about this solo lane really working out for them, we already said that Alarak into the Sonya is going to struggle, and they acknowledged that to a point where they said, we can't even solo lane on this map, we need to make it a 2-3 split, so they adapted already in their playstyle here. But I agree with you that in the setup, the X factor, as you called it, is something that where they have to show, okay, what are they doing here? And we have already the Haka now taken, so that gives us a global. So from the get-go, it's a bit more heavy on gank potential and on side soaks through a global.
Yeah, and it's the solo laner as well, so not only are they going to try to use this to put pressure on the lane, we talked about how the solo lane would probably lead to what sort of macro Beyond the Game might lend themselves to here, and this is going to be that global factor, and this will give them extra pushing power, and they won't be fighting down in experience necessarily like they did in the previous set.
So this is currently already looking like very much like the last patch that we had, the high priority on ETC after the Haka was drafted, so that you have a counter to the Haka later on if you want to go into stage dive. So at this point, you're flexible enough in the draft that you can get a second tank at the front line if you choose to do so. That allows you to go into Mosh Pit. or you can simply just say ETC is going to run it. You have right wing for global as well. So there's a very flexible opening here for Team Freedom that I like actually a lot.
And this is Team Freedom saying, you know, what they discussed during their interview about, you know, we want to focus on mobility. We want heroes that have the ability to get from A to B in a heartbeat, right? So Brightwing, you can phase shift in, as you touched on before. Stage dive, always a threat to try and run against a composition which might be designed to interrupt a mosh pit. But the response from BTG, they go for the Rhaegar once again. They pick up the Greyman as staple in their region as well. Not really revealing too much at this stage, and still the question is, Tyrael, not there.
Yeah. Looking at potentially a Muradin ban, kind of an unusual, and we saw obviously Muradin picked up in that last set early with the Rhaegar, but towards the Genji now. So double DPS is something that we have seen in China, and it is slowly on the rise. I think we've seen 4 games of solo support now in this group stage. So I guess it's not a crazy ban. It does offer them, I think, a little bit less. It does take away a big threat in terms of dive for BDG here.
Okay, so Anna, first of all, banned out here. Now, one of the things that we've talked a lot about Tempo Storm, but Team Freedom also acknowledges the strength is, of course, Malthael compositions. We've been talking about this just yesterday, and especially with Anna, that can definitely be a huge threat. And with Brightwing currently chosen, you can expect a double support on the side of Team Freedom. But I agree with Skimmy here and also with you, Wolf, that I would really like to see where Tyrael now comes into play here. Because you can still make a strong argument for Team Freedom playing towards Tyrael and trying to use an ETC mosh pit potentially even with Sanctification, maybe just a stage dive. But on the other hand, you have already Greymane and Rhaegar with a lot of potential to use Tyrael on Cursed Hollow, his best map, and just try and dive deep.
So, I mean, with Trash that are locked in there between the Tracer and the Tass, as I've coined it, I love it. So frustrating to go up against, so fun to play with, as many have said in this region. And beyond the game, I mean, now the Tyrael just becomes that much more attractive.
Yeah,
right?
it feels like the shoe's on the other foot in this case, right?
Yeah.
What they use to try to kill Freedom now will be on the game. Take that same tool to try to defend it. I mean, they could potentially take literally Lucio here into the Tyrael. That's a strong option. Muradin, though, is I think the more attractive option, but what does Muradin really offer you against Tass Tracer? You're not going to be hitting very many Dwarf Tosses onto a Tracer. That's pretty unrealistic. Shutting down the ETC is something you can do with those Storm Bolts, but I agree. I'm leaning towards that Tyrael. I think Lucio's great for the map. You've already got good camp control with Rhaegar and Greymane, but they're going to actually completely change up. They're going to go to this solo support style here. Muradin at Falstad, similar to what we saw from Fnatic in the previous set.
Is there an Illidan or a Sonya in our future here for Team Freedom? Or what do you think?
I mean, Sonya, I could definitely see that you're trying to go for her. Illidan, I personally don't really feel it at this point. I would prefer... You can play the Illidan. I personally would prefer something along the lines of a Sonya. Again, with the North American teams, we've oftentimes seen different priorities into Malthael, for example. But I just want to talk about that Falstad a bit. I actually don't expect him to come in here. We already had the Global. And you, of course, have Gust that you can use as a disengage tool as well. But into the Tracer, that's definitely an interesting play, especially since we're only having a single support here. So with good control, and Freedom definitely has that, I think Tracer can put a clinic onto the backline of BTG.
Certainly, I think it feels gimmicky. It almost feels like it's one reason to grab it. You didn't grab the Tyrael, you want more boss control. You can use the Gust to help control that on this 2-boss map, but I'd love to see that Malthael pick you were talking about, the North American favorite here. You crush the matchup against Dahaka, but it's going to be Zera. I think this is a response to the solo support here, and you've got 2 hyper-mobile heroes with Tracer Zeratul to get into that backline, and it's pretty scary for BDG.
He didn't even cross my mind there, but he's perfect. Like, it's fantastic. Yeah. You already have Tracer, who was a huge threat towards Falstad.
Yeah.
Now you have a Zeratul as well. I mean, it just screams one-shot. If you call your target and you go in, you have heavy mobility, you can one-shot backline heroes quite easily here. And of course, then you also have later on a Void Prison that you can use too. So the setup for... I love what Freedom does.
I was going to say, you're just going to overwhelm them with pressure. You've already got the Tracer in your face, trying to take down that one key target, Pulse Bomb or not. But then if you've got Zeratul on top as well, you've got 2 Assassins coming in at you, and you're thinking, well, do I have to burn the Gust in a situation like this? It's not too desirable. Or maybe the Gust doesn't even get used, right? So that boss control on a map like Cursed Hollow, off the table.
Yeah, I feel like Falstad's not really going to be doing a whole lot of pushing by himself. It's just too risky. Right. I mean, if he is, he's not pushing very far, right? Because the threat of the Tracer and the Zeratul is there. The callouts as to where those heroes are going to have to be really good so that the Falstad can actually push far to get value on this map.
There's also another element. A lot of the stuff that we talked about is post-10. So what happens after level 10 in the mid game? But just think about the early game here. You have a Brightwing and you have Zeratul. So Zeratul can literally roam, go onto any kind of lane on the solo, calls Brightwing to TP in when he starts blinking, and all of a sudden you turn it into a 1 versus 3 situation where you get your kills. So the gank potential with this is insane.
I mean, let's throw our minds back to the set that happened last night, and we saw Cursolo as well. It was a Tracer on the side of CE. They went for the invade. I mean, their camp clear wasn't the best. You look on the side of BTG, they've got the Rhaegar, they've got the Greyman, your go-to heroes full of likes of like a Giant Camp or a Knight Camp. You look at Team Freedom, it's not really about that mercenary control, it's all about the global, the mobility. So, I mean, if somebody like the Zeratul does spot somebody out, expect the team just to collapse on that and get the kills.
So Team Freedom looking to bring the aggression to the on the game here. Make sure to vote at home as who you think is going to win with the hashtags, be it Team Freedom, be it Beyond the Game as well, as we're almost ready to go into game at number 2. At the moment, Team Freedom winning out in the HGC universe. What are our guys thinking? Are we thinking Team Freedom is going to be able to take this all the way?
Quite easily.
With this draft, I'm looking at like 90%. I think they take it.
Skimmy, final thought?
I'm thinking if BDG get a strong early game, it could go up a little bit higher, but otherwise I feel like Team Freedom got this one in the bag.
All right, thank you very much, gents, as we now head over to our commentary team once again for game number 2.
Well, Grubby, as Wolf pointed out, it seems like the shoe is on the other foot. The draft's kind of flip-flopped in terms of style. We've got very contrasting styles, except it seems like the teams changed names.
Yeah, Tassadar Tracer now on the left side, fighting for freedom. Not going beyond the game. And it looks like a good draft, but like you just pointed out, a little bit on the lower wave clear here for Team Freedom. So they will need to coordinate well, rotate well, in order to manipulate the map positively.
It'll definitely be interesting to see. We don't get to see a whole lot of Zeratul these days. We'll see how it plays out as we are ready here for game number 2 between Team Freedom and BTG. And Team Freedom, they're going to try and take this 2-0. They want to get an early rest and try and finish it out here today and get their spot to BlizzCon. We're going to see what they can do here in game number 2.
There'll be plenty of games to watch after that, if they can indeed achieve that early rest. But whoever wins this match will go up against Fnatic. A challenge of epic proportions. Will it be Freedom or Beyond the Game? We've got the boys of Team Freedom here on the left. Dainsky on Tassadar, Zagrag on the ETC, Cure on Zeratul, Kill Illusion on Brightwing, and Nazmaz on Tracer.
It's going to be a fun game as we'll see what Beyond the Game can do going into that solo support style as Infinity is going to be on Greymane, ST on the Dahaka, Molly going to be on the surprise Falstad pick for me, 365 on the Rhaegar, and rounding it out will be Ego one more time on the Murden.
Zeratul has long been a recurring mainstay in big international Heroes of the Storm tournaments, but he hasn't seen as much play. His prevalence has suffered. Going up against double warrior, double support, as it is more difficult to find an angle, to find a weakness against such sturdy compositions. But now, with just one support, Rhaegar, Zeratul has made his way in again. And let's see what Cure can do with him.
I remember last year, Grubby, you talk about an international competition. I remember me and Dreadnought were doing some stats, based on all the big events. And every time they showed up, there were 2 heroes. Had the 2 single highest win rate at every single global tournament. Those 2 heroes were Abathur and Zeratul, both above like 75% win rate at global international events. As you said, the meta's changed a little bit, but he finds himself back here at one of the biggest globals of the year.
Yeah, I mean, even look at mid-season Brawl about 5 months ago, and we had the Abathur with the top win rate.
Oh, yeah.
Together with Chen, actually. Chen received a little bit of a nerf since then and doesn't see as much play. But
So Chen was confirmed OP.
Chen confirmed OP, needs another nerf. But yeah, Tyrael Zeratul always rise to prominence as locking down an entire team with Void Prison or making an entire team invincible are pretty good abilities. Zeratul is pretty hard to play though. His Void Prison range is short. He's squishy. He has to use the entire toolkit of mobility that he has with all those blinks, with that level 1 Vorpal Blade in order to make himself scarce when the opponent tries to lock him down.
I think right now they're holding the lanes, so to speak, and they're just kind of trading out. Rather casually, neither team has incredible siege potential with this setup, but it's always interesting for me when Zeratul players get to level 7 and they get that teleport off their W and they're able to just go in and kind of close that gap, save their E for something else, and really try and close the gap if needed. Plus combo slash after level 4, you can double up on that W at level 7, and it really comes online as a scary threat. But again, solo support, I want to see what happens after the first tribute phase. Falstad, prime target to be ganked. Same for Rhaegar, things like that. With solo support, I want to see what Cure can do because he is a very deadly melee player here for Team Freedom.
And let's talk also about how team fights are going to be looking. You think of yourself, you style yourself to be that Tracer and Zeratul. Who are the primary attack targets on Beyond the Game? Rhaegar, if he gets caught, there are no buttons to protect him, save Stormbolt or Mighty Gust, something like that. But there are no like Crystal Aegis, Divine Shield. If Rhaegar gets attacked, he's in trouble. So 3-6-5's positioning is going to be of paramount importance. He's going to be the main target. But if Rhaegar is either locked down or not in position, Falstad dies so fast to a Zeratul or a Tracer as well. So there's plenty of targets here.
And you talked about that. Your sustained damage is basically nil. Zeratul's all burst. Tracer, she can kind of get in and out, but when it comes to her damage, it revolves around getting into melee range and then trying to get that W out and then the pulse bomb to try and get out. What happens when that doesn't work? What happens if you miss? That's what I want to see. What does Team Freedom have? What's their backup option in these team fights?
And that's going to be the key for Beyond the Game. Rebuff the initial onslaught, maybe with Mighty Gust, maybe with a Stormbolt, and then use the rather chunky warriors and Greymage's counterattack to make a comeback. In the meantime, Brightwing was pushing in one-on-one against Falstad, but it was unfair. Darkar came in as well, made it a 2-on-1, and down goes Collusion.
It was really interesting because we heard the phase shift in as we do see Rhaegar does fall here in this fight. They're trying to turn it, and they do. Cure goes down a 1-for-1 trade, 2-for-1 overall, but Zugra got to be careful here as he's taking quite a bit of damage. The Pulse Bomb trying to get the trade. Infinity's like, you know what? I'm pretty sure I'm going down. I'm taking you with me.
It was a firefight. Deadly casualties on either side. Tribute still uncontested here. No one has been able to get it yet. Dainsky, oh, nice Blink Stormbolt.
Oh,
you know what? Dainsky
did that intentionally. It's like, dude, keep channeling, I got this. That's actually a really killer play there by Nazmas.
The bodyguard, Nazmas. I cry every time. Dainsky didn't need to cancel, but he did, you know, and the Tribute continues to laugh in the face of danger. What a chaotic game so far. 2 versus 3 takedowns in favor of Beyond the Game.
In favor indeed. Brightwing has moved back to the top. The power slide in onto Ego, and Nazmas again trying to get that. He has his Pulse Bomb one more time. Zeratul's coming in. There it is, the level 7 online. He goes in. Infinity takes quite a bit of damage, but as you said, they need that deterrent, and there was a Stormbolt that Ego threw out to kind of thwart the attack.
I think Muradin has to hold his Stormbolt, unless he can use it aggressively and leading to a kill. He needs to save that for Zeratul. In comes Cure again, sharking from below. He goes for Muradin, actually landing that Seeker in the dark. A very delayed hitbox there on Ego. It looked like it was going to be missing. And finally Collusion comes in, so does the Haka. Everyone is here, it's a 5-on-5 brawl.
Essence is out, it's healed up to Haka. The Dimensional Ship is out for Tassadar. We are 5.5 minutes in, and we finally get our first channel of the game. As again, it's all around that burst. If you don't get that kill, we saw Zeratul and Tracer both try and confirm kills. And when that doesn't go through, what do you have left after that? And it looked like Team Freedom right now didn't have a whole lot.
So we're level 9 apiece, and only 1 tribute was taken. Just rewind to the first best of 3 of the day here. Fnatic against Darksided, and by this time about 2 tributes were taken already, with the third one almost on the... Yeah, the third one pretty much spawning now by this XP. And it was Fnatic who was able to grab that one alongside a kill on a boss. But now a much slower pace of the objective. First, second tribute pretty much don't do anything. And everyone is going to be level 10 by the time that even the second tribute spawns.
Kirby, I want to get your opinion on this, because I'm sitting here thinking of when level 10 hits, like you've got a Tracer and a Zeratul who don't necessarily capitalize as much as, say, other heroes would off of a potential mosh pit. Would we be potentially seeing a double global style here with a potential stage dive?
You're quite right. Stage dive is taken. A little bit of extra damage. Just like you said, if Zeratul went for a cleave build, I could totally see that mosh pit coming in. But with that single target build that he has, absolutely the right choice. Good call here. Stage dive on the Rhaegar could be huge.
Second tribute now up with stage dive. You can stay in that top lane. Brightwing soaking bottom, trying to get every ounce that they can. Cure is going to get revealed if that had been put down. Brightwing coming in. Psystorm going to delay a moment longer. And it looks like we've got ourselves another team fight, Grubby.
Now ETC is full life at the top, Falstad about half life. ETC can join battle faster. Zeratul is going for the tap. Cure is going to be coming back. And I think when Cure comes back on Zeratul in about 5 seconds, we should see a stage dive coming in. Falstad cannot chase that fast. This should be a Team Freedom tribute.
Almost there for the next Pulse Bomb, and that's when we'll see the re-engage. They've isolated a hero. They've got the Emerald Win. They're going in. The Pulse Bomb is going to land. That's going to be the first kill onto Grayman. They're looking for more as the Power Slide's going in. The Cleanse in return, and a nice Dwarf Toss over as the Ancestral going to keep Ego alive, but that will be tribute number 2 of this game going over, making it 1-1 here for Team Freedom.
Is Falstad going to be a hero? Will Moly fly in by himself and Mighty Gust everyone away, stealing a boss? Probably not. It's too risky. The boss attempt here is very heads up, very straight up by Team Freedom. But they're not killing it that fast. Moly is here. Who knows?
They don't have a lot of damage. Emerald Win is 20 seconds away. They're posturing up. Ego is going to look for to get a huge stun. He's got that Dwarf Toss, the heavy impact, the nice W out. He Dwarf Tosses in. The Pulse Bomb is met, and there's the Mighty Gust you're talking about. But we have the re-engaged Power Slides going in. That's going to be Murd in the first casualty. Molly going down, 2 for 1 so far.
Infinity comes in there with Greymane, finds his first mark. Will he find a second mark? Cure is very low.
It is an absolute bloodbath, and Beyond the Game comes out and steals the boss.
There we go. Beyond the Game, steal that boss. 3 for 3 in takedowns. Mighty Gust angling wasn't just right.
It did enough, I guess.
But Greymane coming in late, he's like, you guys having a party without me? I want to be a part of that. And he didn't even have to use his Go for the Throat. He just used...
It's pretty wild.
Auto attacks and Work and Cleave.
It's pretty strong. You get him in that melee range, and again, they weren't able to get kind of that burst-style damage. I really worry for Team Freedom in fights like that because Pulse Bomb helped get some early kills, some early pressure, and things like that. But once that's done, Grubby, you are basically reliant on Zeratul on long cooldowns trying to get attacks. As we see a tongue here onto Zugrog. The stun as he tries to slide out. He's in a bad spot.
Illusion coming in there, still has Emerald Wind, wants to greed and not use it, finding it to be necessary to use it in the end. This is a 5 vs 5 stage dive. It's going to be pretty big, but he got isolated away thanks to Mighty Gust. Immediately will run away.
There's this giant circle on the ground. You're like, all right, I'm pretty sure somebody's coming here, so what if I just blow everybody else away?
Knock, knock. Mighty Gust. Don't want to know who's there. But yeah, it's like you said, if Void Prison and Pulse Bomb are the life of the party, then it's certainly a hangover afterwards. Much of that damage, much of that control is gone. In doing so, Team Freedom has very much elected for a very bursty team fight, but not really ready for like the 20-second later re-engage. A misjudgment, critical misjudgment, losing that boss down there. And now everyone in position for the top boss. Now the next tribute location is going to be random.
It is random, yeah. They cycle in 3, which means the next one, it basically resets, can be anywhere on the map, top or bottom, mid, left, or right. And it will be on the bottom left side here for Team Freedom. We'll see how this plays out. A little bit safer position for them to defend. However, they are 1 away is Beyond the Game from getting the first curse of the game in Grubby. There's only 1 fort down. You got to imagine team fight here and after this could be different. I think the defensive structure of this meant that Beyond the Game going to go ahead and start their boss as well. I think we've got something brewing up here.
And I think it's a good call generally, but I think they're a little bit late in doing so. This was a good tribute location for Beyond the Game. They had their own boss, and then the tribute all the way on the other side. But it looks like Team Freedom will show up on time. Boss is dropping low. Moly, can he do it this time? Will he be a hero? Tracer is actually set up there.
Collusion used the ice block to make sure he could stay on the point. Ends up using Emerald Wind to steal that. The power side in is going to take down Molly. Then we got more going on as ST has already used his adaptation before, and he is very low. Cure trying to confirm the kill on the left as we've got action going on the right as we've got a stage dive into the face melt, into the power slide. That's going to be Ego staying alive because he is Murden. He is an avatar at the moment. But right now, 2 members down and a boss pushing the top lane.
Team Freedom was so defensively positioned. Oh, Infinity face melt. Oops. I think actually he could maybe go down in face melt, but he was straight. He was far behind the gate. Team Freedom steals the boss. They get their revenge for that bottom boss. And now with the Curse Tribute, Freedom actually walking past the fort, at least curious on account of his cloak.
It looked like Tracer's like, oh, I can, oh wait, actually I can't follow, you're the invisible one. Getting the vision point to make sure they can thwart any engage here. BTG does save their top keep, but this is going to be Cure channeling it. And right now, 16-14, you can't blame them. They're going to give this up. They should have a relatively decent defense because of the anti-siege or the siege potential of Team Freedom right now.
Yeah.
So we'll see how well they hold.
A little bit lower siege potential, then you have Dahaka and Falstad. They can put the stoppers, but Team Freedom does not want to leave this to chance or passivity. And the early predictive burrow will actually get outbaited by ETC. Cleanse comes out, but there we go. Dahaka goes down. His heroic choice is isolation and a value play here, min-maxing with the Void Prison.
Got it. The Emerald Wind's going to isolate a hero. 365 is going to be the target here. As Falstad goes down, they're going to look past this. If they get one more kill, Grubby, they can be looking to end the game. Their curse is still up. They don't have any threat anywhere else. The shields are here on the core. It might be a little bit too early to make this call. They might just want to try and double up on keeps. They've got their eyes on a couple of targets, but they're unable to confirm the kills. Looks like they're going to make just the keep call. But if a fight is brought to them, they will not back down. Beyond the game, being very aggressive with their defense.
Oh yeah, there's another 10 seconds left of the curse. There is no threat for Team Freedom, no defender's advantage to speak of besides those fountains. And Team Freedom shift their call. For about 3 seconds, they entertained the thought, what if we just try to end on the core here? But they go for the safe play. They find their way out of the mid keep and will be very far ahead indeed.
I love this picture, man. I was going to say the boss is coming up. Why don't you just go ahead and show it to me spawning, because this is going to be a huge point of contention going forward. 16 has been picked up. We've already seen these monster fights around the boss. We still have Falstad in the game. Emerald Wind's going to be there. Of course, the ice block was used last time to make sure he didn't get gusted. So counterplays on both sides. This could be electric here if they decide to opt for that. But again, with the global of Dahaka Falstad, easy defenses allow you to keep an eye on that with the rest of the team.
So an eye will be kept on that boss indeed, but it would be the depth of risk-taking maximum here for Team Freedom to start that boss. There's no way they want to contest that boss. I mean, consider, you are ahead 2 levels. It's about 4% HP and damage power level per level, so a little bit over 8%. And that's a nice advantage to have when you go into a fight. But equal talents. You don't really want to take a, let's call it a 55 to 45% chance fight.
It's fair.
When the map is 90 to 10 in your favor. You've literally got 2 keeps down, catapult pressure, so there's no need to take a gamble like that. All you'll do is wait for positive odds, like this one.
A 4 versus 1 is
okay.
coming in here. They're going to look for the flight. They could potentially be looking for the Gust Falstad. It looked like he idled on the minimap, thinking he might come in. Dahaka's going to be there. The one thing to that point is you are 100% correct in that there's no need to force that boss fight. It would be more advantageous for you to have the Siege Giants, have the catapults pushing. Unfortunately, the other team has 2 globals, so it doesn't quite add up to get that big advantage. So they basically just have to idle for now and try and get 20.
Right. I mean, it's lovely to really threaten that boss and then allow core damage to be dealt. But because of the globals, everything is slowed down. Still, you want good fights though, and the best fight would be level 20 versus not level 20. And this should be Team Freedom's objective. But Beyond the Game, they don't want to wait for that. They're moving in, and ETC will go down. Beyond the Game does it. They have a 5 versus 4, 2 levels down, but here they go. Void Prison will come out and will isolate a few members.
They're isolated for now. Nasmus looking for an opportunity. No pulse bomb available. They have their sights turned. We see the Ancestral is going to land. Molly's taking so much damage. Cure trying to get out of there. He tried to get the takedown, was unable to get it. They're going to have to hearth back. Catapults will be on core. However, with 1 member down, that is going to be ETC. They're going to be able to get a curse. However, they're just trying like hell to get out of here. Cure's like, look, you're not going anywhere yet. I don't want you to get another advantage. I'm buying time.
That was very smart play there by Cure and by Team Freedom, actually pressuring there at the boss, delaying certain members, trying to prevent that curse from getting taken, but in the end, it was not enough. Dainsky on Tassadar, he was too low. He had to go for the full back, so he couldn't interrupt. And Beyond the Game, grab a curse. Now, this curse is kind of like treading water. They're not going to get to the other side of the shore yet, but they're just not sinking yet. It's going to be a defensive curse, allowing them to grab 1 boss. Now, for Beyond the Game, in their favor, although the other boss gets taken, they still have a bottom 4th available. So Beyond the Game has made the first step to recovery in this game.
Oh man, we saw this earlier. They didn't quite have a ton of damage to get this down quick enough. The top boss was picked up. We're going to have no contest here. in the bottom, because the curse is up, it's going to force a response out of Team Freedom. This boss now, the value is going to be pretty much nil. It might warrant them level 20 by the time they go up to the fence if they can take that keep down or the fort down. But now they've got their eyes set on a defense. However, there's only 15 seconds left on this curse.
Yeah, and there's only 5 seconds left on the level 19 here for Team Freedom. They're gonna get their ultimates at level 20, those Storm tier talents. Would you like some Infinite Archon or Rewind Zeratul? Triple continuous Emerald Wind. I mean, beyond the game here, they're gonna have to fight down a Storm tier talent, and they will, dragging ETC into the boss with the boss stun.
Cure trying to get the reset on there. He's got the VP out, but we see Zugrug so very, very low. They're going to try and go back in. The Ancestral is going to land. Ice Block is going to be there for the moment. Now they're in a bad spot. Brightwing's going down. Stage Dive is going to come in just to try and buy some time. The Face Melt as well, but they're looking for the re-engage. Nazmus just barely dodges that Murden, and this boss is still pushing. Grubby, we've got Siege Giants behind it. Right now, that is another member down, and BTG making plays.
Infinity jumping in there with the kill. Twilight Archon is the next victim here. Zeratul Cure gets pummeled here, and Bully Datesky goes down. Beyond the game, have they done it? Are they defeating the favorite here in the second map after a very chaotic game? Team Freedom falling to chaos.
Cure goes in!
Cure with the kill!
Cure goes in, he's looking for more. 365 is getting so very low. We're down to 50+%. They are still on the core. The Siege Giants doing damage. They are all in. 30% and falling.
20%!
Molly's going down. Cure making the plays, and just like that, 5,
Murden!
4, they did it! Oh my!
Beyond the game with the equalizer here. That wasn't anything but an easy core call, but they've done it. Meriden whacking away with that hammer, like slamming a nail into a wooden plank, and the Siege Giants as two trusty friends throwing rocks from across the fence.
The Siege Giants definitely paid off, and we look at the start of that, Grubby. It was 18-20. Kira goes in, he's like, look, I think we can do this, and things fell apart real quick there. And shout outs to BTG for staying in that and then taking an amazing team fight there at the end.
Very nice Grey main play there by Infinity, getting the kills, seeing things with the eye of the tiger, confirming those kills, but a little bit chaotic there. ETC jumps in, Collusion together with ETC tries to do the stage dive separation play with Emerald Wind, but it just got them a little bit too far separated. A slight lack of patience, and now suddenly we have a match on our hands.
We've got one hell of a match on our hands, and I can't wait to hear what Claris and the team have to say about this last game before we hit to game 3.
That's right, gentlemen. That was a doozy. Beyond the game overall, we could even have an audible moment where BTG suddenly picked up in emotion, in excitement, realizing that they could turn everything on its head there in game number 2.
Yeah, especially, like, I feel the game did not go quite as well at the beginning for Freedom as we were hoping for. But then they got their lead and everything looked great. They get 2 keeps there in a fantastic position and they aim for 20. And it really just completely turned against them in the last team fight. And that was mainly because we had a situation in which ETC was trying to go in. He gets dragged by the Haka into the boss stun and all of a sudden nearly dies to it. And that happens at the same time as Zeratul is starting the flank.
Yeah, exactly. You see Cure coming on the side and you have Collusion teleporting in to do that really amazing setup where they split the team with Emerald Wind. And ETC's ready to go until he gets stunned by the boss and everything falls apart.
Exactly. So the Haka drags him into the stun and then he's so low that he nearly dies as Brightwing and Zeratul are already fighting. So ETC has to go to the fountain, which is still up, and tries to go back in with the stage dive, but at that moment, Brightwing is already about to die, and all of a sudden it starts turning against them, and what looked like a super easy defense. The whole reason why they were flanking is because they were saying we don't even need to lose the keep here, we can actually just like kill them now, and then we end that core. And just that one moment turned it practically into a 4 versus 5 situation.
I mean, for me personally, what the most exciting factor was just the boss control. I mean, we were asking, you know, stage dive, mosh pit, stage dive. Team Freedom came out saying they want mobility. They got mobility, right? So you've got the Tracer, you've got the Zeratul, you then got the Brightwing and ETC that can all just pile drive in, look for that dive, try and isolate those members, which did happen a few times. You'd split them in half with the Emerald Wind, you'd split them in half with the stage dive. The thing for me, though, was the boss control. We saw 2 Gust find little to no value. That first one in the bottom lane on their side, you're thinking, man, imagine if they had the mosh pit. Imagine how different that fight could have gone. You know, BTG stick around in the second second one. They go for the very early gust, does absolutely nothing. Collusion comes in with the Emerald win and says, thank you very much, I'll take it. It really was Team Freedom's game to lose, and the very last second, BTG showing signs of life.
My favorite moment that we saw with boss control was actually the ice block on the red side boss. The ice block into Emerald win. Such patience there at Collusion, just sits there. Team buys time. Everyone has to sort of leave. Emerald comes out. Boom. Boss steals. So I feel like Freedom won the game. They lost the ending. Like they couldn't get the last nail in the coffin. So I feel like for them, mentality-wise, you probably feel like, oh, we messed up there at the end, but we basically won the game.
Kaldor, final thought?
I would agree with that. For me, it's really the last fight for the reasons mentioned. Before that, the lead was very comfortably in the corner of Freedom, even though I expected them to get ahead even further in the early game, thanks to the Zeratul Brightwing. The ganking never really happened, so the kills that I expected them to pick up, that didn't occur, but they still got a massive, massive lead, and then it just all completely went south on that last fight, and that was mainly because to the Haka and that amazing timing for the drag. You could say that maybe Freedom miscoordinated a little bit. I'm not quite sure what the communication there was, but if, for example, if Cure hears a second before he commits completely from ETC, hey, I'm dragged, I'm ending up in the boss stun, and just waits a bit longer, they can move back, not